Hello everyone and welcome, it's Shanna. Now today we're going to work with the month club kits from Spellbinders. I've got the Glimmer of the month for April 2025. It's called Scattered Letters and it's got a couple sentiments that go with it. Open me up for a smile and making you a bit, or mailing you a big hello, excuse me. And then I've got the clear stamp and die of the month and it's called Send and Sill. And we're just going to get to glimmering on here. I'm going to glimmer one panel on camera and then I cut the footage out of the others because it's kind of a lengthy video anyway. And I'm going to use a variety of different colors of glimmer that I have here. Starting off with this lilac, I think is what it's called, lavender petal. And I'm going to use it and we're going to glimmer this Scattered Letters glimmer plate on this blue cardstock from Spellbinders. I think it's called Raindrop. And we're going to get to glimmering. I've got my glimmer heated up and ready to go. And we'll get it laid down on there. Just trying to look at my colors to see what color that actually is. And I believe it is Breeze is what it's called. So anyway, I've got my Spellbinder 6 in here, and I am going to get this, once I get this heated up. When I grabbed my Spellbinder 6, I evidently hit the cord and unplugged it, so I had to plug it back in and heat it back up and get it going. I had cut my hand. I just showed you that Band-Aid that has some little fish and stuff on it. I grabbed my pokey tool and jabbed myself right before I got ready to start on there. So look at this. It just glimmers up beautifully. So I've glimmered up several different panels with that Scattered Letters, and now I'm doing the sentiments in black, and I also did them in this rainbow colored foil. And I'm going to get all this done, and then we're going to come back in and I'll have all the panels, and I will have stamped our clear stamp and die of the month, and we'll begin assembling some cards. I cut a lot of this out because it was really long. I guess because I did several panels and there was, a lot of glimmering going on. So here I'm taking the coordinating die that goes with the glimmer sentiments and cutting the two of those out at the same time. And then as soon as we get these rainbow sentiments done, we'll move on to our card making and get going. So we're done with the sentiments and everything foiled beautifully. All three panels that I foiled and the sentiments did really well. There was a teeny tiny little bit of overfoiling on my black and white, but I was able to use some, and it was barely, you wouldn't even notice it, but I was able to use some washi tape and just lift any overfoiling off that was on there. Now I'm just going to bring in my Misty and I'm going to stamp this up. I'm not even going to show you all the stamping of it. I will stamp it and then I will heat emboss it with my heat gun, and then we'll do some coloring in which I will speed up. So we'll just get this laid down on here. And I wanted to show you that the stamp, it looks like a bunch of little pieces, but it is actually all in one piece for all the envelopes and all of that. And then your sentiments, I believe there are 8 sentiments, and you have 7 dies. One of them is kind of a block die, so they didn't give you, or a block stamp, so they didn't give that to you for the one that's pretty easy to cut, but you've got 7 dies for the other sentiments. So here we've got everything ready. We've got our glimmer panels. I've got my stamped panel, my sentiments on there, and we're going to do some coloring. I'm going to bring in some colors that will kind of coordinate with the foil that I used for the glimmering, and we'll just get to coloring on this. So I'll just speed this up and we'll play a little bit of music and then we'll come back together. Well, my heater kicked on while we were paused. So if you hear that in the background, that's what it is. So what I did was I took my A2 matting basic dies and I die cut out a panel with my scattered letters. And then I brought in the scribbled embossing folder, and I used my Kitsch Flamingo ink and ran across, that's, I think that's indigo paper. And then I used the Kitsch Flamingo ink to go over the top of it just to kind of highlight it so that you could see the scribbling on there. And then we're going to get it laid down on our panel, and then we'll lay our blue, lighter blue panel on top with our scattered letters glimmering. And I thought that would just add some interest to the bottom layer of our card base. And I'm just trimming my cardstock up because I noticed it was off there. So I bring in my Spellbinder's guillotine and cut that off, and then we'll use our panel. I believe I've cut that at 3 3/4 by 5, and we're just going to get it laid down on there, and we're going to figure out how we can layer up some of these pieces on here. And I really wanted to use a postage stamp die, but the ones that I had were not from Spellbinders, and I need to upload these on the Spellbinders website, so I didn't want to use anybody else's dies. Then I remembered that I did have a die from the Advent calendar that was kind of like a ticket die, almost kind of had that postage edge look to it. So I'm going to use it on there. I was trying to decide, how I was going to cluster them, and I'll get some metallic pink paper that'll match this glimmering, and we'll cluster our stamped images on top of it. But in the meantime, I am taking some fun foam and putting it on the back of this panel. It was a little bit warped, and so I thought the fun foam would just help straighten it up, and it would give it a little bit of dimension and a little bit of shadow sitting on top of that scribbled letter embossing folder. And so I was just trying to kind of bring the pinks back in by using that Kitsch Flamingo. And then I'm going to grab a metallic pink paper, and we're going to die cut it out with one of those Advent calendar dies that I have. And then that will kind of go with the foiling that is on top of the card already. And it'll kind of give me a focal point for all my little stamped and die cut images that I'm going to add on there. And since I used the pink on here, I originally thought I'd use the pink letters, the pink envelopes, and that on there. But since I used this metallic pink on there, I decided that I would just use the green and the blue and the white images from the stamp and die set, and we'll just kind of layer those up on here. And there's a little tag and a little envelope and kind of like a legal size envelope and just a whole bunch of different sizes. There are also a bunch of push pins and paper clips and stuff. Those are super tiny, and I didn't fussy cut those out. They'd be nice if you make a panel with the whole stamp and just do it that way. So I'm just going to pop up some of these, and that way we'll have some dimension, and we can just kind of tuck these around, and we'll get them laid down on this panel. And then we'll add it to our card base, and that will bring this card together. I'm just going to trim down one of these foam strips from Spellbinders so that I can put it on my little teeny tiny tag there. And then we'll get it laid down on our metallic pink paper. And then I'm going to use the Sentiment Snail Mail Hugs Coming Your Way. And I thought I could nestle it right in there, and it could hang off that metallic pink paper onto our glimmered panel, and we'll have a little message on there, and I think it kind of comes together. And there we have it. And I'm going to try and get this to lay down better, and I'll bring in a little foam square and tuck it in underneath there. It kind of takes me a minute to get it to lay down because I had that glue on there, so I was wanting to move around. So there we have it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our next one. And the next one is the black and white. And this actually turns out to be my favorite card. And I was really almost hesitant to put anything on there because I thought the black and white glimmered panel was so pretty in and of itself that maybe I didn't need anything, because it's really crisp. And like I said, I had a tiny bit of overfoiling, but it came off with the greatest of ease. This foil plate foiled beautifully. I didn't have any problem at all with the foiling. And I've got one of those foam strips stuck to my finger now. I just pulled it off there. And we're going to bring in a black card base for this. And we're just going to lay it down on there. We'll just have a little edge all the way around there. And I think you could quit right here and you'd have a great card. Maybe slap a cinnamon on there. And I thought about it. I hesitated. I was like, I don't know if I need to add anything else. It looks so good, just like this. And I'm all about clean and simple. I love that. I'm fine with it. And I just think it looks so pretty. But I want to put a cinnamon on here, and I'm thinking about the cinnamons. And I've got this die set from my advent calendar. And I thought, well, I could double them up, and I'd have a frame and then a center, and I could pop it up inside there, and it would add some dimension and add some interest to the card. So I decided to go ahead and do this. And I'm not even using any tape. I'm just going to line it up and lay my plates down on there and hope for the best. And so we've got the frame, and then we've got the inside piece there. And I thought about kind of crisscrossing them like this and making it kind of wonky on there. But then I came up with another idea, and I thought it'd be nice to just, kind of let it hang off and pop up the inside and just kind of put it on a diagonal. So that's where we'll land on this one. So I'm going to fool around with it for a minute. And I really decided I wanted to kind of lay it to where I wouldn't cover up those glimmered hearts. And so I'm going to position it to where I'll have all of those hearts showing and I won't cover them up. I'm still fidgeting trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I had no plans going into it. I usually don't. When I make a video, I just sit down and start creating, and wherever it goes is where it goes. And I don't do like a card in advance to prep. And maybe my videos would be better if I did. But I just sit down and to craft, and when I sit down to craft, I turn the camera on and try to capture whatever it is I do, good, bad, or in between. So I'm just going to snip this off that's hanging over the edge. And I would have done better with a bigger pair of scissors, but this works. And now we've got that laying on there. I've got all my little black hearts showing, and I'm going to pop up this center piece, and it will just add some dimension to it. And then I left some of those envelopes just plain white, thinking that they would go on this black and white card base, because I was thinking I'm going to just keep it, black and white, just keep it a simple black and white pattern. And so I'll just bring in a couple of those envelopes that I have laying there that are black and white, and we will just get them laid down on here with a sentiment, and I think it comes out pretty nice. And it is kind of similar to the blue one in that we used that die, and then we just kind of popped up some envelopes and then added a sentiment. But I think it looks very different with a black and white scheme. And this is my favorite of the 3 cards. So we'll get our other little envelope laid down on there. And we've got lots of glimmer and shine. And I think it looks nice. I really like that black and white panel. So now we've got several pieces laying there. And I have had this rainbow piece of cardstock laying on my credenza for a long time. And every day I see that and think, I need to do something with it. And today's the day. So I used that rainbow glimmer for the one panel. And I decided I would use this rainbow paper for this particular card. And I actually cut off the pink part. I probably should have cut off more of the green and the blue and left kind of the purple and the pink on there, and then we'd had all colors, but I didn't. And so I'm just going to trim this panel down. I think I just take it down to 5 1/4 by 4, and we'll just have a little bit of that blended panel showing behind it. And And we'll just get it trimmed down. Now we're ready to lay it on that panel. Need to bring in a card base. And the camera's not showing all the shine, I don't think, of the Glimmer. You do get great shine on it. And this one's fun because you have the gold, the pink, the blue, the green, and all the colors in it. So I've got that laid down on there. And then I'm going to bring in that same die, and we're going to create another one of those little panels. And we're going to use the pink and the purple that I cut away from that panel and create a another little landing zone for all of our little envelopes and our little paper airplane and all that. And, you know, these 3 cards are going to be real similar in that we kept using the Glimmer plate, the, the stamp and die of the month, and also that particular die from the Advent calendar. It's kind of fun to bring something from the Advent calendar back out and use it. I really haven't messed with those since I did the Advent calendar videos in December. So it's fun to bring some of those out. I want to get to working with some of my older stuff that I have a lot of things that I've used one time and then had to move on to other stuff. And I think it'd be fun to bring some of those things out and to play with them again. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So I'm just going to pile on several of these stamped images that I have here and just kind of fill this panel. And we'll use, I think we'll use them all up. And then this time I'm going to use one of the glimmered sentiments instead of one of the stamped embossed sentiments. Since we glimmered in the rainbow foil, just like we did this card panel, I thought I'd use a rainbow foiled sentiment for this one. And I'm going to use the Open Me Up for a Smile sentiment for this particular card. Just trying to get everything tucked in there. And full. So there we go. Now I'm going to put this one kind of in, I don't know, the middle, right side of it. And we'll bring in some foam and pop it up. And then I decide to bring in another layer. I thought it would be interesting to have the larger die like this in white. And so I'm going to pull these off, and then I'm going to bring in another layer and do that. So we'll just run the white through the die cutting machine and create a larger layer to go on the bottom of that one. And then we'll just layer them up, and then we get it laid down on our card base. And you see I have a ribbon there. I thought about using a ribbon on it, but I changed my mind, and so I cut that part out. So we'll just get this laid down on there, and we are going to cover up one of the envelopes there, but you still can see a lot of it. And then I'm going to bring in the Open Me for a Smile, and I'm going to bring in that strip of the rainbow paper, and I'm going to glue this down, and then I'm just going to fishtail an edge around there in the darker, and that way it'll help it to pop off that white. We won't have white on white with the sentiment. So I'm just going to bring in my little Spellbinder's detail scissors and just kind of fussy cut around there and make a fishtail. And then we'll get that sentiment laid down, and then that will take care of our third card. I tried to do something a little bit different. I saw some of the videos today, and a lot of people kind of did a similar thing with the stripes on the bottom layer. And I was trying to do something just a little bit different. Since my video ran later than what theirs did, I had a chance to see some things, and I thought, well, I'll try to do something a little bit different looking. So that's what I tried to do. So I thought about putting it on the bottom, and then I thought, no, I'm going to angle it at the top, and I think it'll look nice. So here's our 3 cards. We've got our blue, our black and white, which is my favorite, and then we've got the rainbow one. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye now.